The fluorescent lights of Harrison and Moore Law buzzed overhead as I reviewed another contract at 11 p.m. My office, if you could call it that, was the smallest room on the 47th floor, more of a converted storage closet than a proper workspace. But I didn't mind. It gave me a perfect view of everything happening in the firm. "Still here, Ms. Mitchell?" I looked up to see Gregory Harrison III, named partner and walking stereotype of old money privilege, leaning against my doorframe. His $5,000 suit couldn't hide his condescending smirk. "Just finishing the Maxwell merger documents, Mr. Harrison," I replied, keeping my voice neutral. 5 years as an associate had taught me to hide my emotions well. "Ah yes, the Maxwell deal." He stepped into my office uninvited. "Good work getting those signatures last week." Thomas was impressed. Thomas Moore, the other named partner. The mention of his name made my stomach tighten. In 3 days the firm would announce its new partners. After 5 years of 80-hour weeks, sacrificed weekends and flawless case records, I was the front-runner. "Speaking of Thomas," Harrison continued, "we had an interesting discussion about you today." I kept my face carefully blank. "Oh, yes. About your future here." He picked up a photo from my desk. Me graduating law school, summa cum laude from Yale. "You know, when my grandfather started this firm, he had a very specific vision." "I'm aware of the firm's history, sir." Everyone was. Harrison and Moore, founded in 1952, had never had a female partner. Not one in 70 years. "Then you understand why tomorrow's partner announcement might be disappointing for you." His smile didn't reach his eyes. "But we value your work ethic. Senior associate is nothing to be ashamed of." My hands stilled over the keyboard. 5 years of perfect performance reviews. The highest billable hours in the firm's history. More won cases than any associate in our records. "I've met every criteria for partnership," I said quietly. Harrison laughed. Actually laughed, and set my photo down carelessly. "Oh, Alexandra. You'll never make partner here. That's not how this works." "And how does it work, Mr. Harrison?" "This is a gentleman's firm. Always has been, always will be. Now if you'll excuse me, I have a dinner at the Metropolitan Club. Don't stay too late, though I'm sure you will." He left, his expensive shoes clicking on the marble floors. I sat there staring at the contract on my screen, letting his words sink in. What Harrison didn't know, what none of them knew, was that I'd seen this coming 3 years ago. Every late night, every perfect brief, every client meeting, they weren't for making partner. They were for something much bigger. I pulled out my phone and dialed a familiar number. "It's time," I said when the line connected. "Release everything Monday morning." "Are you sure?" my brother asked. He'd been warning me to wait, to be patient. "They just made it official. I'll never make partner here." I smiled, thinking of the press release already drafted and waiting. So let's show them who really owns Harrison and Moore. I hung up and looked at my reflection in the darkened window. Tomorrow they'd announce 6 new partners. All men, all from the right families, all mediocre lawyers who'd never worked a weekend in their lives. But Monday would be different. Because what no one at Harrison and Moore knew was that over the last 3 years, I'd been quietly buying up the firm's debt through a series of shell companies. Their real estate leases, their equipment contracts, their credit lines, everything. The prestigious firm that would never make me partner now belonged to me. I gathered my things, turned off my laptop and headed for the elevator. As it descended, I thought about Harrison's words. That's not how this works. He was right. This wasn't how it worked. This was going to work much better. Saturday morning found me in my real office. Not the storage closet at Harrison and Moore, but the top floor of a sleek building in Brooklyn. Here, surrounded by floor-to-ceiling windows and modern furniture, I ran my actual business, Mitchell Financial Holdings. "The final numbers are in," my brother James said, sliding a folder across my desk. As my CFO, he'd orchestrated the financial side of my plan. "We now control 94% of their debt instruments." I opened the folder, reviewing the detailed breakdown. 3 years of careful planning laid out in spreadsheets and contracts. "Show me the timeline again." James pulled up a digital presentation. Year 1. Acquired 40% of their real estate debt through Shell Company A. Total investment, $89.4 million. Leverage, their main office building and 3 satellite locations. Year 2. Purchased 35% of their equipment leases and credit lines through Shell Company B. Total investment, $45.7 million. Leverage, all technology infrastructure and operating capital. Year 3. Secured remaining 19% of outstanding debt through Shell Company C. Total investment, $67.2 million. Leverage, complete control of all major financial obligations. And they never connected the dots? I asked, though I already knew the answer. Not even close, James smiled. They were too busy looking down their noses at their last female associate to notice who was buying their debt. I stood up and walked to the window looking out over the city. Where's Harrison 3 right now? Playing golf at his country club. Same as every Saturday. Of course he was. While I'd worked endless weekends building this plan, Harrison and his fellow partners maintained their privileged routines. They thought they were untouchable. What about the employees? I asked. This part mattered most to me. All mapped out. James pulled up another document. We've identified every hardworking associate, paralegal, and staff member who's been overlooked. The ones who actually keep that firm running. Complete compensation packages ready for each of them. I nodded. And the partners? That's the best part, James grinned. Monday's revelation coincides perfectly with their annual partner buy-in payments. They're all leveraged to the teeth. When we call in the debt, they won't be able to cover it, I finished. Not without selling their summer homes and sports cars. My phone buzzed. A message from Sarah, my inside source in HR. The partner announcements had just been posted internally. 6 new partners, exactly as expected. All men, all from wealthy families, all mediocre lawyers. Send me the list, I told James. He pulled up their profiles. William Preston 3. Harvard Law, bottom 30% of his class. Theodore Banks. Yale Law, more golf tournaments than court appearances. Maxwell Wright. Stanford Law, hadn't written his own brief in 3 years. Jonathan Pierce. Columbia Law, hired through his father's connections. Alexander Cooper. Penn Law, spent more time at the club than the office. David Thompson. Harvard Law, 3 malpractice suits settled quietly. Combined billable hours last year? I asked. Less than yours alone, James confirmed. Their total contribution to the firm's revenue was 22% of what you brought in. I sat back down at my desk and opened my laptop. Time to review Monday's press release one final time. The document that would shake Harrison and Moore to its foundations. What about Thomas Moore? James asked quietly. I paused. Thomas Moore, the second named partner, was different from the others. He'd actually worked his way up. Built his reputation on skill rather than connections. But in the end, he had his chance, I said. He saw what was happening and chose to maintain the status quo. Show me the succession planning documents. James pulled them up. Over the past year, we'd carefully documented every instance of discrimination, every passed-over promotion, every inequitable decision. Not just for me, but for every employee who'd been denied opportunities because they didn't fit the Harrison and Moore vision. The press will have a field day, James noted. That's not why we're doing this, I reminded him. This isn't about revenge. It's about building something better. I spent the next few hours reviewing every detail of Monday's plan. 7 a.m. Press release announces Mitchell Financial Holdings acquisition. 8 a.m. New management team arrives. 9 a.m. All hands meeting. 10 a.m. Individual partner meetings. 11 a.m. New structure announcement. 12 p.m. Debt call notices issued. By the time I left the office that evening, everything was in place. I drove past Harrison and Moore's building on my way home, looking up at the illuminated logo against the night sky. Come Monday, that logo would change. My phone rang, Harrison 3's name flashing on the screen. Probably calling to remind me about some urgent weekend work that he'd forgotten until his golf game ended. I let it go to voicemail. Let him wait until Monday. After all, I'd been waiting 5 years for this. Monday morning arrived crisp and clear. Perfect weather for a corporate takeover. I arrived at Harrison and Moore at 6:30 a.m., earlier than usual. The security guard, Mike, gave me his usual sympathetic smile. Morning, Ms. Mitchell. Heard about the partner announcements. Their loss. I smiled back. Thanks, Mike. Big changes coming today. About time, he muttered, buzzing me in. The 47th floor was still dark when I reached my office. I changed from my normal conservative suit into the outfit I'd brought specially for today. A perfectly tailored black Alexander McQueen power suit, Louboutin heels and my grandmother's pearls. The outfit cost more than 3 months of an associate's salary. Not that anyone here knew I could afford it. At 6:55 a.m. my phone buzzed. James's text, "It's live." I opened my laptop and watched as the press release hit every major financial news outlet simultaneously. Mitchell Financial Holdings acquires Harrison and Moore Law. Acquisition price, $847 million. Complete restructuring planned. New management team to take immediate control. First female CEO in firm's 70-year history. By 7:15 a.m. the first partners started arriving. I could hear their panicked voices from my office. This has to be a mistake. Who the hell is Mitchell Financial? Call Gregory immediately. At 7:30 a.m., Gregory Harrison III burst out of the elevator, face red, clutching his phone. He stormed straight to his office, walking past my open door without noticing me. I could hear him shouting into his phone. "What do you mean you can't stop it? I don't care what the contracts say. Find a way to block this." More partners arrived. The noise level rose. Phones rang constantly. Associates and paralegals huddled in corners, whispering and checking news sites on their phones. At 8:45 a.m., right on schedule, James arrived with our management team. 15 people in sharp suits carrying tablets and briefcases. They walked straight to the main conference room. At 8:55 a.m. the intercom crackled. "All employees please report to the main conference room immediately." I waited until everyone else had filed in before entering. The room was packed. Harrison III stood at the front trying to project confidence. "Everyone remain calm," he was saying. "This is clearly some sort of hostile takeover attempt and our lawyers are." "Your lawyers work for me now," I said clearly, walking to the front of the room. The silence was absolute. Every head turned. Harrison III's mouth opened and closed like a fish. "Alexandra? What are you?" "Please sit down, Mr. Harrison," I said, my voice carrying easily through the stunned room. "You'll want to hear this." James stepped forward, handing out tablets to each partner. These tablets contain complete documentation of the acquisition. Mitchell Financial Holdings now owns controlling interest in Harrison and Moore through our purchase of all major debt instruments and financial obligations. "This is impossible," Harrison III sputtered. "You're just an associate." "Actually," I smiled, "I'm your new CFO. And this," I gestured to our management team, "is your new board of directors." The room erupted in chaos. Partners shouted. Associates whispered. Support staff watched with growing smiles. "Quiet." My voice cut through the noise. "Let me explain exactly how we got here." I walked to the presentation screen and pulled up our first slide. A chart showing partner compensation versus revenue generation. For 70 years, this firm has operated on an outdated model of privilege over performance. The numbers don't lie. Last year I personally generated more revenue than all 6 new partners combined. Yet I was told explicitly that I would never make partner here. More slides followed. Discrimination statistics, overlooked promotions, evidence of systemic bias. "But this isn't about me," I continued. "This is about every brilliant lawyer, paralegal, and staff member who's been overlooked because they didn't fit your narrow vision of success." I nodded to James, who distributed more tablets. "Everyone except the current partners will find new employment contracts on these tablets. Your salaries have been adjusted to reflect your actual contributions. Those who've been underpaid will find significant increases. Those who've been coasting on family connections." I looked directly at the 6 new partners. "Will find their compensation appropriately reduced." Harrison III stood up, face purple. "You can't do this. My grandfather founded this firm." "Your grandfather founded it," I agreed. "And then you ran it into so much debt that a first-year associate with a good investment strategy could buy it out from under you. Would you like to see exactly how much debt?" James pulled up the financial slides. The partners' faces went pale as they saw the numbers. "As of 9 a.m. today, all partner profit-sharing agreements are terminated. Your buy-in payments are due in full by end of business today. For those who can't pay, I smiled. We've prepared generous severance packages. The next hour was controlled chaos. Some partners stormed out. Others sat shell-shocked, staring at the numbers. Associates and staff members reviewed their new contracts with growing excitement. Thomas More was the last partner to approach me. You planned this for years, he said quietly. Yes. Why didn't you come to me? I could have helped change things. You saw what was happening, I replied. You chose to maintain the status quo. He nodded slowly. For what it's worth. I'm sorry. By noon the transformation was complete. New signs were being installed. Harrison III's name was already off the door. The press had surrounded the building. I stood in my new office, the corner office that once belonged to Harrison, looking out over the city. James joined me. Well sis, he said, you did it. We did it, I corrected him. But this is just the beginning. My phone buzzed with a text from our PR team. Major law blogs picking up the story. They're calling it, the silent takeover. I smiled. Let them call it whatever they wanted. I had work to do. Because Harrison and More was about to become something it should have been 70 years ago. A law firm where success was based on merit, not privilege. Where brilliant minds weren't held back by outdated prejudices. Where the best lawyer in the room would make partner regardless of their gender or background. I sat down at my new desk and opened my laptop. Time to start building something better.